The recording. All right, welcome everybody. It is February 10th, 2025, and here's your weekly Muckboots in the Capitol update of the Oregon legislature from FOF. So, welcome everyone. Oops, here we go. As always, my name is Alice Morrison. I'm the co-executive director of Friends of Family Farmers in charge of policy work, and I will be your presenter today. And today, we're going to give a short update on where we are with FOF's two priority issue areas. We're going to talk about hearings last week, hearings and work group meetings coming up this week, and action needed, and some exciting events that are coming your way. So first things first, we have two priority issue areas for the 2025 legislative session from Friends of Family Farmers. The first is state meat inspection capacity, and that is embodied in HB 2164. Last week, Monday the 3rd, we had our work session in the House Agriculture Committee, and that bill was unanimously passed out of that committee, which is fantastic. We have not had any registered opposition. It's just a competitive funding landscape out there, so we got to keep our eyes on that. But it is being referred to Ways and Means because this bill is primarily a request for general funds to be allocated to the Department of Agriculture. So that means it's not going to go to a floor vote in the House and be assigned to another committee in the Senate. It is going to the Joint Ways and Means Committee because that's where every bill that requires a price tag gets sent to so that the legislature can work out the overall budget. It has not been assigned a subcommittee yet, but is likely going to the Natural Resources Subcommittee because that is the subcommittee that handles the natural resource agencies, of which the Department of Agriculture is one. So then I wanted to give a short update on where we are with the small farm water access and domestic exempt well conversation. So we have officially switched gears to the House. We started out in the Senate, and we have switched gears to the House. The House version is going to be HB 3277. This happened after reaching an impasse in negotiations with some water conservation groups who are in opposition to this concept and our Senate sponsor. And we were not able to come to an agreement on that. So we, after asking the public to remain vigilant and ask our legislators to elevate this discussion, the co-chairs of the House Agriculture, Land Use, Natural Resources and Water Committee, Representatives Helm and Owens, have been working with us to bring this conversation forward and make sure that this is something that we will have the opportunity to discuss in this session. So we are still waiting on language for us to present to you. And I did want to point out that this is a little bit different than our normal approach. Usually when FOF brings our farmers' voices into policy, we have a specific thing that we want to happen. And we brought forward our dream proposal in this discussion. We have been working with you all, our public, for a very long time. Thank you to the over 600 people who came out to our 20 community meetings around the state last year. Thank you to everybody who showed up to focus groups, who filled out our survey. Like, literally hundreds of people have contributed to our understanding of this problem and our desire to find a solution. We brought all of that knowledge and expertise and a request for a proposal that we would love to see to the legislature. They have now taken that in, and they are not going to write the bill exactly as we have asked. When in the case of the state meat inspection program, or in the past, things like the amendments to the farm direct marketing bill that we did back in 2023, we were involved in crafting that language, and we were able to propose exactly what we wanted, and a legislator picked it up and carried it for us. This conversation around the exempt well usage is much more complicated, and there are many more stakeholders who are very, very interested and concerned about this issue, and there are differing opinions. So this is not FOF's bill. This is something that FOF brought up, and it is an issue area of concern for FOF, and we are pushing for our farmers to be represented in this solution. But at the end of the day, this is Rep. Owens' bill. And when we get the final language, we will analyze it the same way that we analyze other bills that come up on topics we're concerned about. We may be really excited about portions of this bill. We may have critical feedback on other portions of this bill. And so as soon as we get that language back on what will be introduced as an amendment to HB 3277, because when you go into OLS right now, 3277 is a study bill. It's going to be replaced with an amendment. And as soon as we get that language, we will have our analysis posted and we will be communicating with you all as the public and with everyone else involved about which parts of the bill we like, which parts of the bill we have questions about, and which parts of the bill we'd like to be strengthened or changed. So I just wanted to communicate that I know we've been talking about this topic for a very, very long time, and it seems like nothing is happening, but there is a lot of activity in the background, and we don't have language to show folks yet. And we are just as frustrated about that as you are. So we are going to continue to keep you updated with as much information as we have, and we'll be posting our full analysis of whatever bill is proposed through the amendment to HB 3277 as soon as we have it. All right, so that's FOF's issue areas. Oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. So a recap of what happened last week, because last week was a big week for us. So we had 2 hearings of notes and started a work group of note last week. We're going to talk more about the work group in the next section. But HB 2979 is the funding for our food system resilience grant funds. So that is the small farmer rancher, food hub, and farmers market disaster and climate resilience grant funds that OCFSN and OFMA have been administering. This is a program that originated in 2023, has been extremely helpful to our community, has provided access to funding for durable infrastructure for local food outlets, as well as emergency preparedness, drought and disaster resilience, supplies and infrastructure and systems building for our small farms around the state. An incredibly worthwhile investment from the state in our community food system. That bill had its hearing last week, and I think that hearing went incredibly well. We had a panel of 6 folks for each grant program: Food Hub, Farmers Market, and Farmer Rancher. We had someone representing the program giving the update about why it's important and how it's going so far. And then we had an impacted community member, someone who received one of the grants, telling their story about how that has impacted their farmer food business. And that hearing was very well received. We also submitted a sign-on letter that some of you all signed that had more than actually not more than, it had 248 signatures at the time that we submitted it. I think there are more now. And we have over 200 pieces of written testimony submitted from the community in support of this grant fund. That's a very strong record, and we're really grateful for everyone standing up for this program. It's a competitive funding landscape, so building that record this early in the process is really important. So thank you everyone who raised their voices in support of these programs and this project in general. We really appreciate it. I do believe it is making a very compelling case to the legislature about why that is so important. We also had a hearing for SB 747, which is fertilizer reporting for farms of more than 200 acres. So this is related to water quality and concerns that people have about over-application of nitrate fertilizers that can have an impact on ground and surface water. We have seen this impact very, very clearly in the groundwater management areas around the state, and the link between agricultural fertilizers and nitrate contamination is very well documented and indisputable. So we as a community think it is our obligation to do our part in remediating these situations and stepping up and giving the data to make sure that agriculture is not used as a scapegoat when we need to address a holistic problem. So having accurate data helps us make decisions about what agronomic rates really mean, because even if you're following guidelines from OSU or from your agronomist or from the fertilizer company, and they say this is the correct rate of application, if there is contamination happening, then that is not being taken up by your crop. That's money you're losing. That's money that you're throwing into contaminating groundwater that we all depend on. And we don't as an industry and as a community don't want to be responsible for that. So this type of reporting is the first step in making better collective choices for our future as a sector, as an industry, and as members of our rural communities who depend on this ground and surface water. We also attended the first work group for HB 2548 that started up last Friday and will continue for probably the next month, about participating in the Farm Worker Agricultural Labor Force Standards Board. So we'll talk about that in just a second. So that's what happened last week. And now what's happening this week? Well, in House Ag, we have a hearing for a bill that we are interested in. It actually happened already this morning. HB 2947 is a study for OSU and the Extension Service to conduct a study related to PFAS and biosolids applied to agricultural fields. So this is something that I think a lot of people in our community are concerned about, and another place where if we don't have the data on file, we cannot regulate or understand the impact fully of these new substances that have become very what's the right word? Very ubiquitous in our society. So if we can get a better understanding of the impact of PFAS on agricultural land, we can regulate it to keep us all safe in the future. We also have a work session in this committee on Wednesday. Work sessions are when the committee votes on a proposal that they've already had a hearing on. And this work session is going to have a big, long list of things they're voting on. And there are 3 things that we're really excited that they will potentially be passing out of committee. So the first is these are all things that we've talked about in these briefings before. HB 3010 is the Spanish language pesticide training. That is something that we are very much in favor of and is a priority of the Oregon Association of Conservation Districts. HB 3131 is the Oregon Agricultural Heritage Program and funds to help with conservation management plans, as well as providing matching funds for easements to protect agricultural lands in perpetuity. It's a very useful tool in our toolkit in making land more accessible in the long run. So we are supportive of OAHP and the the Food Systems Resilience Grant Funds that we just talked about, HB 2979. We had our hearing last week. We are having a work session on that on the 12th at 8 a.m. So that is very exciting, and we have the potential for that to pass out of that committee and be referred to Ways and Means, because again, there's a price tag associated with that program. So these work sessions do not have an opportunity for public input, so there's no action needed to be taken, but wanted to let you all know it's moving along. We're moving along through the process, so that's very exciting to hear. Work groups. All right, so there are 2 work groups that FOF is participating in. The first is, I mentioned earlier, the House Bill 2548 work group about establishing an agricultural workforce labor standards board. A labor standards board is essentially a body of invested parties. In this case, the bill right now says that there's 9 members to this worker standards board. 4 representing workers, 4 representing farm owners and industry, and 1 legal expert. There's some specificity in what kind of legal expertise that person is supposed to have. But this board would be a place where the industry can come together and all the interests involved can come together and has rulemaking authority. So this is something that I hear a lot especially when we're talking about reporting or regulation or requirements on training or wages or heat and smoke rules or any of those things. There is a prevailing dialogue when we bring these kinds of things to the legislature that shouldn't industry be working out these proposals on their own? Shouldn't industry be coming together and bringing everyone to the table to develop policy that governs themselves? This Workforce Labor Standards Board is an opportunity for us as agricultural folks to do that. And we think very, very strongly that those conversations within the industry do need to have some structure and should be considered in a more formalized setting like this. I think this is a great opportunity for us to come together and create policy that acknowledges and works toward everyone's needs and finds where there's common ground, identifies opportunities for further investment by the state, and could not only have rulemaking authority, but could propose legislation that then would have the buy-in of the entire sector. So I think this is a great opportunity. We are still in the work group stage here, but excited to tell you all more when there is more to say. We are also joining an agritourism working group. I'm calling it the agritourism suite because it's many bills in one work group. That work group is convening for the first time tomorrow. And these are the bills that are going to be discussed in that work group. So HB 3241 regarding events on farmland, setting the number of events that can happen, setting some restrictions on what kinds of traffic studies need to be done, who can be managing those events, that kind of thing. Then there's HB 3133, farm stands on EFU zone land. This bill would allow additional income via farm stands, including educational workshops. And I'm still learning more about these bills. And so I'm giving kind of a 30,000-foot view, and we will have more to say after the work group has convened and we get to hear more about what's going on there. Senate Bill 55 is a repeat from 2023, the Farm Cafe bill. This one is one that would only impact Lane County, and that is something that we are always a little bit wary of because agritourism already has a county opt-in built into the code where some counties are allowed to do one thing, some counties are allowed to do another, and we are continuously hearing that's very, very frustrating for folks. So we're going to learn more about that, but we also want to make sure that any food service that's happening on farms is really oriented toward the products of that farm and not creating a time and place where a Cisco truck can be pulling up to a farm to supply a restaurant that is located on EFU zone land. We want to make sure that we're prioritizing farm use here, and that is in the back of our mind whenever we talk about agritourism here at FOF. Then there's two conflicting proposals, it seems to me right now, SB 77 and SB, maybe that's supposed to be HB actually, HB 2455. These are both regarding the home occupations clause. Home occupations, it's not about occupying the home. When we say occupations here, it's like job occupation. So having a different job within the home on EFU zone land. This is something that was originally allowed within the code based on the proliferation of like farm adjacent businesses that could be operated from a farmhouse. Like if you were helping other farmers with their books, or if you were, taking in mending or doing seamstress kind of deal, or sewing, that's another common one, or small engine repair or something like that, where you were operating a non-farm business in either the home or garage on farmland. That is considered a home occupation, and there's special rules associated with that. And SB 77 seeks to limit the home occupation operations, and HB 2455 seeks to expand them in some ways. So I think that there's some tension there, and we'll figure out, what the right answer is. We have been looking into this specific home occupations concept for a little while, and I think that there's some nuance that needs to be teased out here, and I am very interested in providing you more information once the work group convenes. That both of these are going to convene once a week for at least the next 3-4 weeks. So we'll have more to say, and hopefully these work groups will result in hearings for some of these bills if they're moving forward. So happy to be a voice at the table here, and we're grateful for our ability to participate. Okay, upcoming events. I think we are right on track. It's 12:22. So, the formatting got a little bit messed up, but we are going to be at the Small Farms Conference. So, Community Food Systems at the Legislature has a panel in workshop 3, the third slot for workshops at the Small Farms Conference, and I will be speaking there about FOF's priorities alongside experts from other groups in our world who work on policy. We're very excited to be there. I hope you can stop by. Again, that's going to be in the third workshop slot at the Small Farms Conference. And we are also going to have a table in the vendor hall. So if you would like to come talk to FOF about any of our programs, advocacy, Oregon Farm Link, if you're looking into farm access or want to join the Navigate program, or Oregon Pasture Network, if you're raising livestock on pasture here in Oregon, please do come talk to us. All of our staff will be there. We're really looking forward to it. So come out to the Small Farms Conference and see us. Again, Community Food Systems at the Legislature panel in workshop 3, so the third session, the afternoon one. And we'd love to see you there. The second event I want to highlight is the most important thing you can do this session is to come to Small Farms Mean Business Rally Day. So FOF puts on this rally day where we bring hundreds of farmers to the Capitol. Our target is 150 for this year. And we are going to give you all of the materials and information and training that you need right there on the day. You will also get some delicious food, meet some other farmers in your district, meet some other food activists in your district. You don't have to be a farmer to attend. You just have to care about these issues that impact small farmers. We would love to see you there. Please do register. The link is up on our website, and my colleague Brittany will send it out after this as well. And priority registration ends February 15th. You can register all the way up until the day before, but priority registration ends February 15th. What is priority registration? That is if you are interested in travel assistance. So if you need to find a carpool, if you need to potentially join in on a van, if you want to get assistance getting there, and you want to make sure that you are going to be able to meet with your legislator, because we need to start requesting those meetings kind of now, but the latest February 15th. So we want to make sure that you are able to meet with relevant legislators. Everyone who signs up will be able to meet with at least 2 legislators. And it's probably going to be one of your legislators. If both of them say no, we will give you an adjoining district and or a member of a very relevant committee. So probably the House Ag Committee or Senate Natural Resources Committee. And we want to make sure that we're lining people up with those meetings as soon as possible. So if you register early, it is much easier for us to get those meetings set and make sure that you're talking to the right person who represents you. So please do register by February 15th. Tell your friends. It is free to register. And we will be providing food and all of the information, and you'll hear from all kinds of different groups. And we're really excited about bringing our small farm community to Salem and really making a difference and telling people that small farms do mean business at our rally day on March 4th. We will be at the Reed Ballroom in Salem, and we'll march to the Capitol where you will have legislator meetings. It's going to be a great time. We hope you can join us, and priority registration ends on February 15th. So make sure to sign up this week. All right. And then also next Monday, the 17th, is President's Day. So our FOF office is closed, but we will be posting the recording of our Small Farms Conference presentation on the YouTube channel during this time. And we invite everyone to take a look at that. We will also send out an email. So we will not be here next week. We'll post our update on Saturday from the Small Farms Conference. And we will join you again the next week for more updates from Salem. And we're really excited to be there with you sharing space on Saturday. So look forward to that. All right, that is the end of my presentation for Monday, February 10th. If we can stop the recording, then we